Good morning, friends. Welcome to the sixth weekly lecture for Samachar. Manthan. And this week we will be covering news from 9th to 15th July. So, like the previous lectures, we'll start with main issues and then we will move forward to the related issues. So, this week there are a number of main issues, around 15 main issues are there. Some of them Rakesh will take, and some of them I will take. So, let's start with the first issue, which is the India-South Korea relations, because the South Korean president visited India in from 8 to 11 July. And before we do with every kind of IR in topic, we first give a background. So, India and South Korea, we had enjoyed. There have been phases in India and South Korean relations. So when India got independent, there was this. If you have read history, you know about this Korean War. So in that Korean War, India supported South Korea because we kind of termed it that North Korea has attacked and the North Korea is the aggressor and South Korea is a victim. So therefore, we got some kind of sympathy thing in South Korea. But as you know, that in 50s and 60s and 70s, South Korea was a US ally. India, as you know, was a non-aligned country and it was more close to Soviet Union. Therefore, India and South Korea did not have diplomatic relations till around 70s. So in 1973, India and South Korea established diplomatic relations. But things were not moving forward till the 90s, as you know that even after establishing that, South Korea did not had much interest in India because India was a poor country. Plus, it was carrying a baggage that it has always been close to Soviet Union. Things got a boost after 1991 when India launched Look East policy. The Look East policy, as you know, was directed towards Southeast Asia and the east of India, which included South Korea and Japan. Therefore, India started some economic cooperation. So we can term the relationship into three phases. Second phase was started in 1991 and it went till 2009, and we established economic cooperation with each other. Because India became liberalized, therefore, as you know, the South Korea and Japan became the tigers after World War II, and South Korea had Samsung, Hyundai, all of them, belonged to South Korea, LG. So when India became liberalized, these multinationals thought that India is a big market, so they established their base in India. So till these 18 years, we had a solid economic cooperation with each other. Then the third phase started, which started in 2010, and it continues till now. In this phase, we moved from economic cooperation to more of strategic partnership. So India and South Korea established, or they have signed CEPA, which I will explain in the next part of the lecture. So this is the brief background about South Korea. South Korea is now a developed country, and we have Japan and South Korea, which can be considered as a developed country. And India has a lot of things to learn from South Korea. The biggest is the skill development. So let's look into the different dimensions of India and South Korea relations. Dimension is economic dimension. And in economic dimension, we will look into two areas. First is trade, and second would be investment. So when we talk of trade, India and Korea had a small trade till 2009 and 10, In 9 we signed, as you know, we signed CEPA. In 10 we signed CEPA. After we signed CEPA, the bilateral trade between India and Korea increased to around $20 billion. But after the, in last 5 6 years, the trade between India and South Korea have been decreasing, and right now it's around $12 billion. I explained this to the old students or the old batch, but for the new batch, I'll again explain the difference between these kind of agreements. So we have PTA, FTA, we have CECA, we have CEPA, and then we have common market. These are the kind of trade agreements we have with the countries. PTA is the preferential trade agreement. It means that if India and, I'm just giving an example, if India and any country, Bangladesh have signed a PTA, it means that for few goods, India and Bangladesh will remove all the duties. So when we talk of preferential trade agreement, it does not include all the goods. It includes a few sectors. So probably automobile sector, or probably one or two more sectors. In these sectors, duty is completely removed, and we have a free trade. Next is, this is the this is the more shallow version of engagement between two countries. Next we have is FTA. FTA is free trade agreement, in which if there is free trade agreement signed with country, it means that duties in most of the goods are removed. So when two countries sign FTA, in most of the goods there is no duty between two countries. So any good can move freely to my country. So PTA means some goods. FTA means most of the goods. Sika means trade. So there are number of definitions of Sika. Some says that it includes both trade and services. Some says it only includes trade. So we could say trade plus services, goods plus services. So when goods and services can move freely to each other, we can call it as Sika. Then next is SEPA. It is the broadest form of engagement, in which we include trade, services, plus investment. So India has SEPA with South Korea. Next we have common market, where you have economic engagement, plus you have some policy coordination. So EU is the example of common market. So let's move back to the main topic, which is India South Korea relations. Next we talk is investments. So within economic, there are two kind of thing. One is trade, second is investment. So when we talk of investment, we see that the total investment from South Korea is in 2017 was around $4.4 billion, and most of the investment is from the South Korean companies like Hyundai, Samsung, LG, and India has also started one thing known as Korea Plus. So this is a special cell which is introduced in India, and it tries to, because as you know that if anyone wants to do investment in India, there's a very very kind of rigid and complicated channel. So this Korea Plus cell, it tries to fast track the investment process, or it fast tracks the approval process, any process or any investment which comes from South Korea. So it is dedicated for any kind of investment from South Korea. Next we come to is strategic. So when we talk of strategic, there are two kinds of strategic things. First is, you know, India and or when Modi visited South Korea in 2015, we entered into an agreement to upgrade the bilateral relationship into special strategic partnership. And we, India and South Korea, are following two kind of policies which are both complementary to each other. So when we talk of India, we have launched Act East Asia policy, which means, so the difference between East Asia and Act East Asia is that in East Asia usually used to include only Asian part, but Act East Asia include all the Pacific parts. So it includes Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and all other countries in the Pacific Ocean. Second difference between Act East Asia and the East Asia policy is that the East Asia policy talk only of economic cooperation, but Act East Asia policy also talks about strategic cooperation. So that is where these quad and all things, emerged. So India has launched Act East Asia policy, and South Korea has launched a complementary policy, which is called as New Southern Policy. This New Southern Policy is a policy which is launched by South Korea as it wants to reduce its dependence on China. So as you know that China is the biggest trading partner of South Korea. Therefore, it wants, and also South Korea is little apprehensive from the expansion its designs of China in the Pacific area. Therefore, it wants to engage more with the Southeast Asian countries and the South Asian countries, including India. So this kind of, uh, this is a policy which is in favor of India, because it talks about increasing relations with Japan, Southeast Asia, and India. So both these policies are complementary to each other. Second area of engagement between India and South Korea in strategic area is the Indo-Pacific region. So the problem with South Korea is that South Korea is little apprehensive and it does not want to, alienate China. Therefore, India has been repeatedly asking South Korea for more cooperation. As you know that, South Korea is also not part of Quad. India wanted South Korea to become part of Quad, which is an kind of alliance between India, Australia, Japan, and US to check the expansionist designs of China in that area. But South Korea is a little apprehensive. But with time, South Korea is showing some, motivation that it wants to have a closer engagement with India over, managing the Indo-Pacific area and reducing the dominance of China. So let's talk about the recent visit of South Korean president to India. So there have been around 11 MOUs which have been signed, and the most important among them is that, or the most important outcome of this visit is the biggest smartphone factory, which is established in Noida. So it's a factory of Samsung, which is established which is inaugurated by Modi and the president of South Korea. Other than that, it is all given in the notes, nothing very significant, so you can read it from the notes. Let's come to now the challenges in the India South Korea relations. So the first biggest challenge is trade. As you know, that the trade between India and South Korea has been decreasing. It was around $20 billion few years back. Now it's around 12 billion, which is less. Consider the fact that we have signed CEPA with them. So people expected that after CEPA, the trade between these two countries will increase, but unfortunately, it has not been increasing. And the bigger worry is that after we have signed CEPA, the trade deficit between India and South Korea has increased. So after signing CEPA, exports from South Korea to India has increased, but exports from India to South Korea has decreased. So this is an area of concern which we need to look into. Second thing we have to look into is that there is problem of ease of doing business. So even though India has established Korea Plus in the ministry, but it has been, as most of the schemes of all the governments in India, it is not being implemented on ground, and we can see this from uh, the Costco project, which has been stuck. Third is the issue of tourism. So even though South Korea has a lot of Buddhist population, and India, as you know, is the birthplace of Buddhism, still it is not being developed to the full potential, and the number of tourists which are coming from South Korea it is much below the potential. Fourth is the strategic ties, or the lack of strategic ties. Even though we have greater economic cooperation, when we talk of strategic ties, it remains limited, and because of South Korea's non-interest in the in that area, as we have discussed in the earlier part of the lecture. Let's look at the way forward. What should be the way forward? How can we improve relations with South Korea? So, first of all, the first thing which we need to do is that we should ensure that what happened was that after CEPA, as you know, that the South Korean goods are more competitive than the Indian goods, but India's interest lies in services sector. So therefore, we should ensure that that our services get exported to South Korea. So we should focus on implementing CEPA in right spirits. The only way the trade deficit can be compensated would be by giving access to the services sector to South Korea. So as we know, we have uh, interest in a lot of goods, IT and all these things. We are really good in that. So South Korea should give us access in the services sector. Second thing we should focus is on improving or enhancing the ease of doing business. Third thing we should focus is on directing South Korean investment and expertise in right areas. So this includes, when we talk of South Korean expertise, so we should know the fact that South Korea has the most of the South Korean population is skilled. And as we have discussed in the last lectures, I guess, about the jobless growth issue, that we did not skill our people. That is the why we did not create enough job. Now that the government is focusing on skill development, we could take the South Korean expertise about what model we should do in India so that the skill development program is revamped and it is made more relevant to the needs of the market. Second is the investment in right areas. So as you know that we have launched smart city program, and South Korea has got expertise in that. So we could, we could bring in the South Korean investment, because as you know that smart city requires a lot of private investment. So we could direct the South Korean investment for our smart city project. Also, we should have a closer engagement in defense. Means that the both these countries should have more military exercises together, and also both of them should have more greater cooperation in the Indo Pacific area. So this ends the first topic, which is the Indo-South Korea relations. Let's move to the next topic, which is the recent hike in MSP. So as you would have read in the newspaper, that the government has announced steep hike in the MSP prices for kharif crops. Some people say it's more than 50%. That is debatable. We don't want to go in that issue. But we will see because there have been a number of op-eds on this enlightenment in business standards in economic times about how this MSP would it would hurt the agriculture sector in the long run. So let's go into this issue. So first is the positives of the of MSP. So as you know that everything has two sides like this. So let's first explore the positives of the issue. So first positive is that it would increase the income of the farmer. So as you know that farmers all across the country are committing suicides and everything. So therefore, this will increase the income of the farmer. They will get more returns. Second is that it will give boost to agriculture production. This again is because it will incentivize, because since farmer will get more money for what they produce, it will incentivize them to produce more. Let's now come to the negative impact. Now the negative impact are very, very large. First is that it will lead to overproduction. Now how? Since there will be increase in MSP, it will give a signal to the farmers to produce more, because they know that they will get more returns. When they will lead to this will lead to overproduction, and when there will be overproduction, it will lead to crash in prices, and it will lead to the same situation that we witnessed few months back when the farmers were throwing these potatoes and these onions on the road, because the price of that or the price of these commodities have crashed to that low. So there is possible that it will happen here also. Second negative impact would be it would make the exports difficult. So most likelihood this would increase inflation of food, and even now the rates in across the world are more or less similar to India. When they will be increasing MSP, it will lead to price in the it will lead to increase in the price of the food articles, and that will make our food grains or or crops uncompetitive to the rest of the world, which means that it will make the export more difficult. And as you know, that agriculture export is an important component of India's export, and India's export, as you know, has been falling from last many years. This thing would further give boost to that fall. Third is that it will hurt India's long-term growth. No, this will happen what? Because see, it will lead to food inflation, and when there will be food inflation, it means there will be when there is inflation. What does RBI do? You should be clear about these concepts. So RBI, as you know, has number of tools like repo rate, CRR, SLR, bank rate, etc., etc. When there is inflation, what does RBI do? RBI increase the interest rate, because when the interest rate is increased, it curbs demand, and when it curbs demand, inflation, because inflation is more or less it's a demand phenomena, because it takes place because of excess demand. So when RBI would increase the interest rate, it would curb the demand. So when there will be food inflation, RBI will be forced to increase the interest rate through either increase in the repo rate or the CRR rate, etc., etc. When it will increase the interest rate, it will hurt who? It will hurt the investment process, because investment is highly dependent on interest rate, and as you know that investment in India has already been declining. So this will even further give boost to that slowdown in investment, which will hurt because without investment, no country can grow without investment. Therefore, our investment will fall, which will lead to fall in the economic growth rate. Fourth issue is that it will worsen the condition of agricultural laborers and urban poor. So urban poor, as you know, they are not they are not engaged in agriculture. So they buy food from the market. Since this will lead to food inflation, it will worsen their condition. Same goes with agricultural laborers. They actually buy from the market, and they will also face the brunt of this. And the last is that only rich farmers will benefit from that. So as you know, according to the NSO survey, around 70% of India's farmers are marginal and small, or they are marginal farmers who have land of less than 1 hectare. And these farmers, what they do is that they take loan advances from the local village baniya or the money lender or the sahu. And once they produce the crop, they sell these crops at a throwaway price to the village baniya or the shroff or the money lender. Now, since they don't sell the crops to the mandis, they don't realize these MSP. And most of India's farmers are marginal farmers who do these things, and therefore they are outside the ambit of MSP, right? And lastly, MSP it only covers few crops. So only some farmers and some regions will benefit from that. Now let's move to the next part, which is what we should do. So as you know that the condition of farmer is not good in India. So if we don't increase MSP, we should find some other innovative idea to increase their standard of living. Because we cannot say that okay, if MSP is bad, we should just sit. So we should learn from the European example. So what did Europe do? Europe did the same thing like India. It gave really high MSP prices, or it announced really high MSP prices to the farmers in order to ensure that there is self-sufficiency in food. And if tomorrow they have war with USSR, they have enough food to feed their population. So idea was to give boost to the, or the idea was to give, to achieve self-sufficiency in food. For that, they thought that if we give MSP to the farmers, very high MSPs, this will incentivize them to produce, and we will have a prosperity. But what really happened was that a very high MSP led to overproduction. And this overproduction meant that the prices fell very, very high. I mean, they fell significantly. And this meant that they have excess food with themselves. They have nobody, because their population is small, so where to export that food. So what they did was that they had to sell this food, they had to sell this food grains at a throwaway prices to USSR. So the idea of their policy was to contain USSR, but the irony of the matter is that ultimately they have to sell these crops or sell these food grains to the USSR at the throwaway prices, because otherwise these foods would have got rotten or wasted. So therefore, after that experience, Europe learned from its mistake, and they started a different approach where they started targeting the income of the farmer. So as you have been, if you are reading newspaper, Ashok Gulati has been saying it from last 2-3 months that we should look beyond MSP and we should focus on increasing the income of the farmer. So what they did was that after that, they started giving farmers income. Okay, you have 2 acres of land, we will give you this much minimum income so that you kind of sustain yourself. So they started giving the farmers income. And this helped them a lot because this reduced overproduction. So therefore, we should implement the same model in India. First thing we need to focus is that we should have a proper land rights in India. I mean, land right in India is really nobody knows who owns the land. So first thing to implement this model, we need to work on land rights, and also we should improve the financial infrastructure in rural areas. These 2 things we need to do. Once we achieve that, once we are prepared for that, or when these things are prepared, we should go for direct benefit transfer, which would mean that farmers, on the basis of their area and on the basis of their fertility, directly government would pass them some income, monthly or quarterly or yearly, and this would improve the farmer, or this would improve the condition of the farmers without distorting the market, because this would be, this would save overproduction. Now that farmer will get income based on the land, not on the basis of the crops we grow, it will kind of, first of all, it will restrict overproduction. Secondly, it will promote diversity, because right now people grow the crops because they know that they will get MSP from the government. If we take the example of sugarcane, I mean, why would somebody grow sugarcane in Western UP and Haryana and Punjab, which are supposedly arid areas, or Maharashtra? They have been arid areas. The farmers have been growing that because they know that they will realize the MSP from the government. Once we replace this whole system with income transfer, the farmers will have no incentive to go for these, or no incentive to hurt the kind of environmental sustainability of their land. Now they will grow crop according to the soil condition and according to the needs, or according to the demand. So therefore, this would, first of all, it will reduce overproduction. Secondly, it will also improve the diversity, and thirdly, it will increase the income of the farmers. So this ends this topic. Now we move to the next topic, which is, let's move to the third topic, which is the government has declared 6 institutes as Institute of Eminence. And what do we mean by Institute of Eminence? First, we should explain that. So, Institute of Eminence would mean that these institutes will get complete autonomy. So, when we talk of Institute of Eminence, we talk of those institutes which have a potential to be in top 100 rank in the world. Because as you know, that in India, this is a very shameful thing for India, that we have no institute, we have no university which is in the top 100. And being the second largest populated country in the world with 6th largest economy, it's really sad that we have no institute which is in top 100. So to ensure that we have one, the government has came up with the concept of Institute of Eminence. So these institutes would be provided with all these things. Firstly, they would be provided complete autonomy. Because most of the institutes, as you know, have been there have been instances of interference of central government or the state government. Second thing they would be provided is the funds. So every Institute of Excellence will get rupees 1,000 crores in 5 years. Third thing they will be provided is that they could have collaboration with the foreign universities. Which would mean more exchange program, more joint research. It would also mean that they can admit foreign students, and also they would, so it said that 30% of their students could be foreign students. So all these things they can offer. And lastly, they will have freedom to decide their own course / syllabus. So this is the last kind of freedom that they have. These are the 4 things which are the main components of the Institute of Excellence. Now, the government has selected 6, 3 in the private sector and 3 in the public sector. So let's first look into the significance of this stuff. Well, first significance is that it will support infrastructure and research in leading institutes. Which means that, as you know, that if you want to be in top 100, 2 things you need to focus on. One is infrastructure, second is research. Unfortunately, most of Indian universities focus on neither of them, except probably few of IITs and JNU. You don't have universities in India focusing on research. So with this program giving funding, plus giving freedom for academic collaboration with the foreign universities, it would give boost to the research atmosphere in these universities. Also, under this initiative, it has accepted or it has given recognition to the concept that education and research requires strong collaborative environment with other institutions and people of diverse nationalities, cultures, and ideas. See, the reason why foreign universities have good rank in the West is because they have diversity. So they have diversity in the ranks of faculties, they have diversity in the ranks of students. When more cultures, more nationalities meet, we develop more ideas, and that is how you gain more, or that is how you gain better rank in these ratings. Now let's come to the criticism part. Criticism of this Institute of Excellence concept was very deep. First criticism is that there have been less public universities which have been selected. So we have, as you know, that originally 8 public universities had to be selected, but finally the search panel, they just selected 3 universities, which meant that many deserving public universities missed out, and these includes IIT Madras, IIT Kharagpur, Delhi University, Jadavpur University, Anna University, JNU. All of these who have made a good name, all of them have been not selected. So this is again, because the original mandate was 8. So why did they just selected 3? They even did not answer that. Second is that many deserving private universities were not selected. So 3 private universities have been selected. The biggest surprise is the name of Geo. So Geo University has not been established yet, but it has been selected as to be developed an institute of excellence. So there have been criticism of favoritism. There have been criticism of undue favor, and also number of deserving private universities like the ISB, like the Ashoka University, like this KREA University, which is from which Raghuram Rajan is associated with KREA. All of these universities have not been selected. So critics have said that they have not used the proper transparency criteria in the selection process. Third is a very meager allocation of funds. So, as you know that rupees 3 or rupees 1000 crore would be given to all the universities in 5 years, which is nothing, because when you want to be in top 100, as we know that the budget of research of world's leading universities is 5800 crore on an average, 5800 crores, and we have been given just 200 crores for kind of per year, which is nothing, which is very very paltry amount compared to the required amount that we need. Next is the impact on the major or the impact on the majority of universities, or I would say it would increase inequality. It would increase inequality in the universities, which would mean you have islands of excellence in the ocean of you know oceans of mediocrity, or oceans of you know bad education. So you have six institute of eminence, but it will ultimately increase the inequality between the students who are studying there and the students in the different parts of, or in the different public universities in India. So this is also something which we need to look into. And ultimately, see, it would not impact the majority of institutions, so it would not have any revolutionary change in the higher education in India. And lastly, there have been incidences, or there have been says that this is more ranking focus exercise. And people, experts and academics say that ranking is not a proper judgment, or it's not a proper criteria to measure the efficiency or to measure the merit of any university, because they say that ranking is based on research, and that research can be of two types. It could be, and usually, ranking is based on research. The research is based on how you measure result is based on number of publications. And since it is based on number of publications, it does not measure that how that publication is solving the problems of India. Ultimately, the aim of the research should be how it improves the situation in India, how it solves the problems of India. Only then that research is of worth. So, therefore, focusing on just on ranking is not really a very, very something which should be focused on. No, we should focus on we should focus on research. We should focus on how our research should be impacting our society. That should be our focus. So this ends this topic, which is the Institute of Eminence. Let's move to the next topic, which is the fake news menace in India. So fake news, as you know, have been in news a lot of times. Recently, it is in news because there have been incidences in different parts of India where, on the basis of fake news that these are child abductors, many people, and one estimate say around 20 people have been killed in last 1 year based on the suspicion of that, or based on a rumor that they have been child abductors. It's just not about child abduction. Fake news has become a very, very big menace in India. So what do we mean by fake news? Let's understand that first. So fake news is any news which is a deliberate creation of misinformation or hoaxes spread via traditional print and broadcast news media or online social media, shaping the belief of the people around the nation and the world. So it's kind of a propaganda. It's kind of a attempt. It's kind of an attempt to spread hoax news with a deliberate intention to further its political, or further its communal, or further its business propaganda. So what has given rise to fake news in recent years? First is lack of regulation. So as you know, now we don't have just the electronic media. We now have social media also. We have these Facebooks, these Twitters, these WhatsApps and all, and they are outside the ambit of regulation as of now. and therefore it is difficult to monitor, it is difficult to regulate the because I see earlier there used to be only one medium. There used to be magazines, there used to be newspapers, there used to be electronic media. In all the three, there used to be some kind of editorial team which used to approve the kind of content or not. But now that with social media, everybody has become its own editor. He is his own editor. He approves his own work himself. So now it's difficult to regulate and monitor the generation and the spread of fake news. And also, I mean, the fake news thing, now there are kind of websites like Postcard News is a biggest example, Dainik Bharat, all of them. Now there's the thing that, the original people who write, he can remain anonymous. So that is how, the owners of the fake news factory, they have been outside, or they have been provided with the space of anonymity. Next reason why we have this rise in fake news is to spread communal polarization. Now that rise of Hindutva, rise of this Hindu-Muslim thing and everything in India, fake news provides a very very good medium to spread or to increase the communal polarization in India. So we have, like, I received the news 2 or 3 days back. I received a WhatsApp message 2 or 3 days back, which said about, with a tag, that Jago Hindu Jago, and the first line said that Babur came from Saudi Arabia in this century, and then he said number of kind of invaders that Hindus have always been attacked and all these things, all this nonsense and crap. So the only reply I gave that it was that Babur didn't came from Saudi Arabia, he came from Uzbekistan, he came from the Fargana Valley, which was in Uzbekistan. So it's the first line of this message is fake. So the whole message itself is fake. So this is done to increase the communal, to increase the hatred towards one particular community, so that the society could be polarized into majority and minority, and that could have dividends in the election. Next reason is reach. So, as you know that now that with this fake news, the reach of communal violence could be made very very big or large. So the first idea is to make people communally polarized, then provide a trigger point where these polarized people can go out in the street and do the rioting. So this is a step-by-step game. First thing is that these messages of Jago Hindu Jago is made to make people more frenzy, more anti-minority, and once they are charged up that okay, these people are a threat to our country, then you spread one fake message that in that particular mosque they are cutting cow. Now that you are already charged, you already have a negative sentiments towards the community. Now you go out and riot. This is the whole idea of the fake news. So third reason is to boost, or what you call is to instigate communal riots. Let's give the fourth reason. The fourth reason is business gains. Now you must be wondering that there have been, if you open YouTube, a large number of videos, or large number of videos have these very very attractive kind of a thumbnail. They have a thumbnail which is very attractive, that watch this video and watch this video and know the reality of Nehru, know the reality of this, know the reality of this person, or somebody exposed, something like that. and these videos have millions of views. So idea is that people will see the video, millions of people will see, and they will get some revenue. Same goes with the page. If you make the news heading very attractive, or which is fake, everything is fake, but they know that people read in India. 70% of people, they are digitally, they're illiterate. So they don't know, they will read and they will think it's a real news, and and this page will have more and more clicks, and ultimately it will turn into more revenue for the owners. So this is also a fake a reason. And the last reason is, of course, it's cheap data plans. We have given this atom bomb to like kids, teenagers, 13, 14, 15. They get access to the smartphone now that after Geo internet is so free, or it's so inexpensive, that these 14, 15, 16-year-old kids get access to these Facebooks and the WhatsApp, and they read this crap which has been provided by the so-called so many groups, and then they became completely charged up. So this is also one reason why we have increase in the fake news, because with everybody having WhatsApp, the reach of fake news has increased. Now you can, with one fake news, you can send the message to millions of people. Next is why fake news is dangerous. First reason why it's dangerous ultimately is everybody knows that it creates communal riot. It can create communal riot. We have seen that in Muzaffarnagar. We have seen that in so many places in Bengal, in Bihar, in UP. It has led to instigation of criminal riots. Secondly, it can lead to lynching. This we have seen in this child abduction and these Gorakshaks case. Thirdly, it can erode the faith of people in social print and electronic media. And lastly, it can divide the society, it can polarize the society. So, how can we control the fake news menace? First thing which we can do is pre-censorship, which many people say that is not feasible. Pre-censorship means that everybody, before publishing news, it has to send it to the website. Facebook, anybody wants to publish any post, it has to send it to the Facebook editorial team. They will first see that it is not inflammatory. After then, it will be approved and published. But this is against the idea of freedom of expression. It is against the idea of right to privacy. So, and government can misuse it. Government can ensure that the anti-government propaganda is not published. So this is not a feasible option. We should work towards self-censorship. And this would have three things. Firstly, we should ensure that we have critical media literacy with critical digital literacy as a component. Which means that we should motivate people first of all to check that whether we should train the people to check that whether that news is a fake news or it has been a real news. That can be done through number of things. So there is this full fact kind of app and website in UK which does that. There is this alt news in on Facebook, alt news, logical Indian, hoax slayer, all of them are there who tries to burst fake news. So we have this. We should train more people because according to the alt news owner, he says that it's not a very. It's a very easy job to check whether it's a fake news or not. So we should train the people who are using internet to check whether that news is real news or it's a fake news. Second thing which we should focus on is to nurture a culture of skepticism among citizens towards information. So they should not believe anything which is published on social media as true. We should train them that see every post which you see on Facebook is not true. Your job should be to search for the original link. Your job is to show that whether that post has been provided with adequate reference or not. If it's not provided with that, you should accept that as a fake news. So we should develop this habit among the citizens. So there have been number of good examples, and also in this we should also see that the local administration is involved and the local community is involved very closely. So we have recent example in Kannur district in Kerala, where the DC of the or the DM of the district, Mir Muhammad Ali, he started a project called, or he started a project, or he started a program called as Satyamev Jayate. So ultimately, what happened was that in Kannur there was this fake news which was spread that if you will go for this vaccination, it will affect the child-bearing capacity of the woman. So ultimately, this program started with busting that fake news that there's no truth, there's no medical truth in that news, and now it has been talking about other things also, other fake news which have been spread. And lastly, there should be limited legal intervention as a last resort. So when anything which is very, very inflammatory, which can affect the national security of India, then we should go for this kind of punishing or using the law to punish that person. There have been some other recommendations also. You can read from the notes. Let's come to the fifth issue, which is an op-ed which says rhetoric and reality on the UNHRC and the human rights. So UNHRC, or United Nations Human Rights Council, is technically it was established in 2006, and it is focusing, as the name suggests, on human rights. It has its headquarters in Geneva, and there are 47 members, and each of the members are being appointed for 3 years, and they can serve the council for maximum 2 terms. So, these facts are important for your pre-exam, because in prelims they have been asking a lot of international and UN bodies. So this organization can suspend the rights and the privileges of any council member that it has decided has persistently or it has persistently committed gross and systematic violations of human rights during its term of membership. So recently, as you know, why I have been using this news, that there is a context behind that. That Kashmir or UN or the Office of Human Rights Commissioner has published a news or has published a report which says that India is doing gross violation of human rights in J&K, and it has kind of suggested India, and it is saying that India and Pakistan both are doing, and it has suggested India to do some reform process, demilitarization, giving more power and more, democracy, bringing more democracy in Kashmir. India has rejected that report. It says it's grossly inadequate. It is based on the Pakistani propaganda, and we are, this report cannot be accepted at any cost. So many experts in India are saying the UNHRC has become, it has become a body of so-called dictators, which are giving lectures to the democracies on how they should conduct its human rights. Because as you know, that UNHRC has members which include Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and Philippines, and all of them do not have a great track record of democracy. So it is saying that how can the body which has members of like these countries which hardly have any democracy, how can they force India, and how can they give lectures on human rights to countries like India? These critics also give example of US has recently withdrawn from UNHRC on the pretext that this body is very anti-Israel, and every time it is giving proposals on Israel on the violation. So they are saying that we should follow the US example. But these people, what this opus says is that these people are incorrect, because they are they are not, or they are ignoring 2-3 basic facts. And these facts include, firstly, this report is not by the Human Rights or HRC. It is a report by Office of Human Rights Commissioner, which is a different body from UHRC. And secondly, US should not be our ideal, because US has also withdrawn from Paris climatic deal. It is also withdrawn from TBP. So US is following the policy of America first, and it is following the policy of distrusting the multilateral organizations. And we, as an Indians, India want to become a global power. We want to become permanent member of UNSC, and for that we should show respect to these multilateral organizations. And ultimately, through this organization, we can play the role of, a human right guardian in the world. Therefore, it says that if India wants to grow as a, and there have been human rights violations in many countries of the world, we can highlight that. So therefore, if we want to be a global power or a world power, we should focus, or we should give respect to the international global bodies, international right bodies, even when we are not agreeing with what they are saying. Let's move to the sixth issue, which is, does India require anti-lynching law. So, Supreme Court has recently said, or it has condemned the recent space of lynching. It said that these lynchings are acts of mobocracy, and it has directed the parliament to make lynching a separate offense. So why do we need a law for lynching, or why do we need a law against lynching? First of all, there have been rise in lynchings in recent years. So, according to a website by India Spent, instances of cow-linked violence from 2010 and 2017, it says that after this government has came to power, this attack or this cow violence or cow-related lynchings has increased by 97% since 2014. And almost 86% of those who were killed are Muslims, and in around 21% cases, the police filed case against the victims, not the people who did the crime, but the victims, on the pretext of that they have eaten or they are transporting cow. So therefore, it suggests, or not just that, we have recently seen that around 20 people have been killed because of child abduction related fake news. So this lynching has been on rise, and that is why we require a anti-lynching law. Second reason we require a law is because has been no, or there has been void in India's legal code. So we have law on murder, we have law on rioting, we have law on unlawful assembly, we have law on attempt to murder, but we don't have any specific law on lynching, specifically on lynching. So therefore we need a law which specifically deals with lynching and which criminalizes the crime of lynching. So what are the reasons, why do we have lynching, or why is the rise in lynching in recent years? First and the most reason, and the most important reason, is the impunity. So the people who are doing this act of lynching, they know that they have the support of the police and the political masters, and they would get away after committing this crime. And this is also, they get this fact, they get this confidence with number of incidences, like when, if you remember that person called Akhlaq, when his killer died in the jail. So when he died, a central minister came on his funeral, and and his flag was draped in the Tiranga. Same happened recently, few days back, when those people who were engaged in lynching a person, when they got bail, they got facilitated by a union minister. So all these acts give a sense of impunity, and then we have number of statements which somehow support the lynchers, and through this they get this impunity that if we commit this crime, we will be saved by this lynchers, or we will be saved by our political masters. One more reason why there's rise in lynching is what we have recently seen is the fake news, as we have dealt in the upper part. So what did SC say? The Supreme Court said that this is a very horrendous act, and therefore the center should file, or it should bring a law, and this law should make it, or if anybody who does the crime, he should be jailed for 5 years under the law, and also the trial should be made in fast track court, and it should be completed in 6 months. That is what SC has directed to the government. But will the anti-lynching law will be sufficient, or do we require a law? Do we actually require a law? That is the $1 billion question. That is all the debate, or that is what the debate is all around in the newspapers this week. So will the anti-lynching law be enough? So, first of all, its success will depend on its implementation. So, see, there have been so many laws in India. There have been women laws. We have got, after the Nirbhaya case, we brought so strict laws against this rape and all these things. Does that stop rapes? I mean, the NCRV data shows that it has increased the rapes. So, till the law is not implemented well, till people will think that, okay, if I murder anybody, even if I am 100, if I murder someone, I will be punished, and that will depend on investigation. So when you have a botched up case, any strong law, you make any strong law, it will not end up lynching. So you require proper implementation of law. For that, the investigation process should be fair, and there should be no support of the political masters. Secondly, there are already enough laws. So there have been so many laws. If we implement them well, we don't require a special law on lynching. And lastly, we can amend the existing laws. So we can amend the IPC section 153, which talks of enmity among the groups, and we can include a chapter on lynching in that section, and that would be enough to deal with the lynching thing. But more than that, we need to fight this thing of impunity. This have to be fight, because otherwise no law can have any impact on lynchings. So we could, there was this police officer in Gadwal district in Telangana, and what he does is that, so more than impunity, more than political thing, the local administration has to also be more vigilant. So there was this SP in Gadwal district in Telangana, and what he did is that there are like 500 policemen who go to the villages after villages, and they spread the right information to the people. Also, these policemen are the part of WhatsApp group of the local people. So a lot of WhatsApp groups, they are the part of that. And they, whenever there is any trigger or any fake news which could create any problem, they provide the right information, or they deal with the situation at the onset. So these things could be tried in other states also. Let's move to the next topic, which is Punjab recommends, or it suggests, a death penalty to Center for Drug Smugglers. So this is the recommendation which is given by the government in Punjab, and it said that center should bring a law which should provide death penalty for the drug smugglers. So as you know, there's a problem of drugs in Punjab has been very rampant, and we should first understand the background of the issue, why there's this problem in Punjab and how can we solve this. Then we will come into the main issue. So why there is drug problem in Punjab? Let's understand this. So first reason is easy availability of drugs. So there could be supply side factors and demand side factors. So first let's just understand the supply side factor. Why there is availability of drugs. So see, as you know that Punjab is very close to the Pakistan border, and that area is part of Golden Crescent, which includes Afghanistan and Central Asia, Pakistan and India, and we have a very strong and very pure cannabis in that areas. So because of corruption of the BSF or the local police, there is smuggling of these cannabis from the Pakistan border to Punjab. So first reason we have is because of easy availability. There is lack of there is surplus availability of these drugs. Also we have in every nook and corner we have alcohol shops. People start graduating from alcohol, then because alcohol is more expensive, then you go for more cheaper drugs. So it is ultimately the once you provide them with a kind of intoxication, they will graduate gradually. Next is that it is a highly profitable business. So it is said that it is the only business in Punjab which has 30 or 300% return. So I mean, you can get the drugs at the cost of 1 lakh rupees from across the border, and you can sell the same drugs at 30 lakhs rupees in Punjab. So that also motivates people to get involved in this business. Third is unremunerative agriculture. This is a very important reason. So agriculture, as you know that Punjab and Haryana and the Western UP were the flag bearers of the green revolution in India, but from last 1 or 2 decades, things have not gone very well in Punjab for agriculture. There have been over exploitation of water. The land has not been so fertile right now. So agriculture growth has slowed down in last few years, and industry has not been creating enough jobs in Punjab. Therefore, the youths in Punjab, they are unemployed. They don't have much work in agriculture, plus they don't have any jobs in industry. Therefore, they get more attracted towards these drugs and all, because they have so much vacant time with themselves. So this is the third reason why there is a problem. Fourth reason is because of debts. So in Punjab, a lot of farmers are in debt, and that is because of you had this white fly incident. You had every year you have different kind of incidents, and that has also made people more that has increased the tensions in their life, and that has also led more people to go towards drugs so that they are away from the realities of the life. Next is the lack of awareness. So people think, there's this fashion in Punjab that they want to try it once. They don't know that once they like it, it will become their habit. But that is also an area where things have to look at. Next is less employment opportunities. This could be covered under this, that they don't have jobs in agriculture anymore, and they don't have jobs in other things. So because see, drug consumption is a social problem that we need to understand. So lack of job means that unemployed, more frustration. When you have more frustration, you feel more relaxed when you are not in a, or these drugs provide you with right sense of mood, and that is why people consume them. Next is the pop culture. So in Punjab, you have these pop culture, Honey Singh and all these things, which glamorize these drugs and all. So this is also a reason why people consume drugs. Next is involvement of high profile people. So high profile people, see, this cannot happen, this cannot take place without the involvement of high profile people. In the last regime, we had Bikram Singh Majitia, who was the revenue minister of Punjab, and he was considered as the kingpin of these all drug kind of cartel. And because of this high profile involvement, nobody gives a damn about what is happening. So this is also a problem. Next we have is lack of strong government regulation. And lastly we have affluence. So all these rich kids, they believe that by consuming these drugs they will have a more higher status and all these things. So recently Punjab government has recommended death penalty. So there have been number of articles on that would death penalty reduce the drug problem. So many critics have said that already, so will death penalty will act as a deterrent. Well, historical examples in India has displayed that it has not acted as a deterrent. We can take the example of rape. Rape has been given death penalty. Many types of rapes have been given death penalty since 2012, but still we have not seen any decrease in the rape cases. So, and also there are existing laws which are very tough. So we have Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1985. So they are very, they are acts which are very, very strict. So this act says that they could be, or it provides for mandatory minimum sentence of 10 years for offences involving commercial quantities of drugs, and it also says that if somebody is doing it, if somebody is a repetitive offender, then even death penalty can be given to him. So it's a very strong act, but still it has not been acted, or it has not been a deterrent in any case. So which we can see from that the drug problem is still rampant in Punjab. So laws would not make any change. What these experts are saying, we should deal with the basic problems why we have this problem of drugs in Punjab. So therefore, what should be the way forward? First way forward should be to revive the agriculture. So agriculture, when it will create jobs, people, less youths will be motivated towards drugs. Next is, and very important, is end political nexus. This is the most important thing which we need to work on. Drug trade in Punjab thrives on political connections, bureaucratic connections. Once we will end that, drugs problem will be solved. Next is, there should be more of detoxination or rehabilitation centers, because a lot of youths in Punjab, they want to leave this, but they don't get the proper direction. So we should focus on making more rehabilitation centers. Next is we should ensure or we should have a society based solutions, which means we should involve media, we should stop glorification of drugs, we should give boost to these NGOs and the civil societies who are working in this direction. We should create awareness among the society that this is a social menace and it should be fight socially. So this ends this topic. Next, move to the next topic, which is RBI flags states fiscal stress. So recently the RBI came up with a report, State Finances, a study of budgets of 2017 and 18, and it has said that the gross fiscal deficit of states have overshot the budget estimates in 2017 and 18 due to shortfalls in their own tax revenues and higher revenue expenditures. So RBI has pointed out that because of farm loan waivers, this has led to more problem. So what could be the implication of this? I mean, states' fiscal deficit has been increasing. What will be the impact or the effect of this? Firstly, it would lead to or it has extended the FRBM target of 5%, and this could lead to crowding out of private investment. This actually I have told or I have explained in that video where I was discussing this, should India go for fiscal consolidation. It is there in the YouTube in the Civils Daily channel. So if anybody wants to understand this crowding out of private, because there I've explained in detail what this term means, you can watch that video. The name of the video is Should India something like fiscal stimulus. Yes, should India go for fiscal stimulus? So you can watch that video and you can get the or you can understand how it will lead to private, or how it will lead to crowding out of private investment. Second thing it would lead to is that it would worsen, or it could it could worsen further this year, and this is because of two factors. Firstly, it's an election year, so there will be more expenditure, and secondly, more and more states are going for this farm loan waiver. So this will also have an impact, because you will have a farm loan waiver, and because of farm loan waiver, it will increase fiscal deficit. And also many of the states have not implemented the recommendations of the 7th pay commission. Now that in an election year they don't want to alienate the government servants, therefore most of them or all of them will implement the recommendations by the end of this year. Both these factors would mean that this fiscal deficit number can worsen this year. And lastly, it could increase the yield of government bonds, which would mean that government borrowing would, or for the government, the borrowing would become more expensive. Now, how would this happen? We will understand. See, the yield of a government bond is decided on the basis of the fact that how safe or how risky it is. So the US Treasury bonds have the lowest yield or the lowest interest rate, because it is considered as the safest investment option in the world, because US Treasury has never defaulted on its bonds, right? It's very safe. That's why the yield is very low. But with the states having a very high fiscal deficit, it means that there is risk. There is risk, because somehow a macroeconomic crisis can take place if this fiscal deficit number increases. And whenever this fiscal deficit number or percentage increases, it gives the message to the investors that now buying this bond is little risky, because the state government can default on its loan, because it already has a very high fiscal deficit. When this fiscal deficit will increase, it would mean that the interest rate which the state government will have to offer for the bonds which they issue will be increased or will be high, which would mean that it would increase the borrowing costs for the state government. And ultimately, it's a vicious cycle. When the cost of borrowing would increase, it would further increase the fiscal deficit for the state government. Right? This is how it works. Let's move to the next issue, which is an op-ed, which the name of the op-ed is "Coming Home to Jail" on the Repatriation of Prisoners Act 2003. So this is a problem. I mean, this is an op-ed which came in Hindu, and the name of the op-ed was "Coming Home." So it deals with the Repatriation of Prisoners Act 2003, which is an act passed by India in 2003. So, I mean, recently this act was in news because there were two kind of cases of repatriation of Indian nationals. First being Ismail Sama of Gujarat, and second being some person from Madhya Pradesh, and they have been stuck in Pakistani jail. They were like the fishermen who did not know the boundary, and by chance they went to the Pakistani territory, and they got imprisoned and they are in jail. But both of them have been detained for a long, and even when their punishment is over, still they have not been released by Pakistan. So that is why this act came into news recently. So there have been some global conventions associated with repatriation. And this includes the International Covenant on Civil and Political Right. So what does this repatriation exactly means? First we should understand that. So repatriation means that if somebody has committed any crime in a foreign country, and if you have passed this law on repatriation, it would mean that the person would be sent back to the home country, and in the home country he will continue to end his sentence. So it does not mean that if suppose there is this fisherman from India, by mistake he enters Pakistan. Now that he enters Pakistan, he will be detained, right? And the court in Pakistan would say that he has been given 5 years in jail. Now, if India has this repatriation act and it has done a treaty with Pakistan, and what would do is that Pakistan would send this person back to India, but Pakistan would say that he will continue his 5 year jail thing in India. So he will be sent to our jail, and India will have to fulfill that obligation. That is all this repatriation concept is all about. So there have been number of global conventions which is related to repatriation, and these include International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations 1963, which says that anybody who has been detained, any foreign national who has been detained, he has to be given consular access, and he has to be given advice from the consular of that person. Also, UN has passed a model agreement on transfer of foreign prisoners and the recommendations on the treatment of foreign prisoners 1985, in which it says that states can enter into multilateral and bilateral agreements for transfer of prisoners, or for transfers of the territory of prisoners, which would mean that the person would complete his sentence in the home country rather than in their foreign country. So in India also, India did not had any act related to repatriation till 2003, and there have been number of problems, number of Indians who were there in the foreign jails, and there were a number of foreigners who were in the Indian jail. They were still in that jail, so therefore the situation was really bad. Therefore India passed this Repatriation of Prisoners Act in 2003. Right? And this act clearly said there were two parts in the act. The first part dealt with the transfer of sentenced foreign national prisoners from India, and the second dealt with the transfer of sentenced Indian national into India. So this act talked about eligibility of transfer, the transfer process, and the obligation upon the transferring thing. So it says that the repatriation could be possible in 6 cases. Firstly, they are willing. Secondly, they have no pending appeals. Thirdly, the offense is not an offense under military law. Fourth is that the sentence is not a death sentence. Fifthly, they have at least 6 months of their sentence still left to serve. And sixthly, their transfer has the consent of both the treaty countries. If 6 things are there, then a person could be considered for repatriation. But the problem is that despite this thing, and India has also signed like 30 bilateral transfer agreements with 30 countries. The problem is that after the passing of act, people thought that the problem of this repatriation would be solved, but this is not solved. And the recent stat shows that we have around lot of people who have been repatriated from India, or there have been very few people who have been repatriated from India to foreign, and there have been very few people, or very few Indian prisoners who have been repatriated from abroad jails to India. So there has been problem of lack of information, lack of awareness. Also, Indian government is not very interested in dealing with these issues. I mean, not every issue gets the proportion media attention like that Kulbhushan Jadhav issue. So therefore, a lot of Indian prisoners are still suffering because this act has more on paper. It has not been implemented on theory. So that is what this opened up all about. That if we want to ensure that it's a win-win situation for India if we implement this act, because it would mean that the foreign nationals who are in Indian jail, we will not have to carry their burden. They will be sent back, and Indian kind of prisoners who we don't know how they have been treating, they would come and serve their terms in the Indian jail. So this open said that we should ensure that on ground this act should be implemented. Social media, let's move to the last main issue, which is the social media communication hub. So recently the government has proposed that they will be developing this hub, and it will be a platform. So what it will do is that it will be a platform which will allow the government to keep an eye on all the social media platform. So suppose there's Facebook, there is Twitter, there is any other thing, Instagram, LinkedIn. So if you post anything, so this platform, what we will do, if you post anything, if you debate anything, government will keep an eye on what you are posting. And the main objective behind this hub is that the government says that we want to move or transform from this kind of paternalistic relation. We want to be a service provider, like they are in the private sector. So private sector, what it does? Private sector does the data analysis. What my customers want, what kind of thinking they have about my product. The government is saying, like this, we will also have the same thing. What we will do is that we will collect the opinions which the people are posting on the social media, and we will use big data, and we will use this. We will kind of analyze this data, and after analyzing this data, we will see the feedbacks which the common people have for our schemes or our policies, how happy they are, how bad, how sad they are. And also we will keep track on the influencers, people who influence other people about the success and failure of the scheme. So it's about the idea which the government says is that by using this data, we could bring changes in the policy or the scheme if the suggestions are more practical and if they are more healthy in nature. So that is what the government is thinking. But Supreme Court has recently said that this would amount to this would lead to India becoming a surveillance state. So he says that if this will happen, India will become surveillance state. You are doing what? WhatsApp message government can monitor, anything government can monitor. So this would make India more or less like North Korea. So that is why the Supreme Court has said that you cannot monitor every tweet and WhatsApp message, and if we will do that, we will be moving towards a surveillance state. And what will be the what are the other criticisms of this project? First is that it will violate, or it will lead to violation of right to privacy. Right to privacy is again, definitely if I am doing some WhatsApp message, if government is snooping that, it violates my right to privacy. It also violates my Article 19, right to freedom of speech and expression. So this would give a chilling effect on free speech in India. And second thing, that it could be used for profiling. So it could be used for profiling. So anybody who is regular in the criticism of the government can profile him, and government could persecute him. So that is also a big problem. Let's start with the prelims issues of the week. And first issue is government seeks help to end manual scavenging. So, as you know, that manual scavenging is a big problem. So what government is doing is government has launched a challenge in which innovators, NGOs, companies, research institutes, they are invited, and they can propose technology and business solutions to clean urban sewers and septic tanks without human entry. So they have given a challenge that they can propose a technology through which we can clean the sewer without entering the sewer, and it should also be cost friendly. So I mean, the best technology would be highlighted, it will be, selected, and it will be used for the government. So it's part of Mahatma Gandhi International Sanitation Convention. So this is a convention which will take place in October 2 this year, because October 2, 4 years of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan would be completed. So ministries from 70 countries would be invited, and they would be, I mean, government would showcase them the success stories of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, and the leaders of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, people who have done a great job, they will have a direct interaction with the leaders of these 70 countries. Not very important for your Pradesh exam, you can even ignore this. Next is that the Rajya Sabha members can now use all the 22 scheduled languages. So till now in Rajya Sabha you could only you were only provided with interpretation of Assamese, Bengali, Gujarati, Hindi, Kannada, Malayalam, Marathi, Oriya, Punjabi, Telugu, Tamil, and Urdu. But now all the 22 languages, the interpretation would be provided. This is a new step. Let's move to the next topic, which is Andhra Pradesh and Telangana have topped the ease of doing business rankings. So what is important here for prelims? Two things are important. One, who gives this ranking in India, and second, which state has topped it. So Andhra Pradesh has tops the ease of doing business ranking in 2018, and this ranking is actually given by Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, in collaboration with the World Bank. So in collaboration with the World Bank, DIPP gives this ranking. And how does it measure which state is doing or which state is more free in terms of ease of doing business? So a feedback has been done in which you have face-to-face actual interviews of users, the people who have used the service, who have and they give the feedback that how satisfied they are with the service. So based on their feedback, the state or the ranking of the state is decided. So it's a very, very practical kind of method that, okay, based on primary first-hand evidence, we will decide which state is the best. So according to this year's ranking, it is the Andhra Pradesh which is the best. After that it's Telangana, then Haryana. No need to remember after second or third names, you should remember the first name. Let's move to the next topic, which is Swet Ashwadras expedition. This is a very, very factual stuff. I don't need to talk it. You can read it in the notes. Next is, this is important, Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation launches the Swachh Sarvekshan Gramin 2018. So this is what is this? This is a survey done in which you rank which city or which state is the best in terms of sanitation and cleanliness. And the good thing about this this kind of survey is that it is very holistic. So around 698 districts are covered, and in these districts 34,000 public places are covered, and they include schools, Anganwadi centers, public health centers, hart, bazaars, religious place. Also, good thing about for this year is that people have, or the people's feedback has been incorporated in deciding which city or which state is the most clean. So, according to this year's survey, it gives ranking based on three parameters. First is direct observation, which is you go to the place, you themselves observe that how clean that space is. Second is the citizens feedback, and third is the service level progress on sanitation progress, or service level progress on sanitation progress in the country. So all of these three have been given weightage: 30%, 35%, and 35%. So according to the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is the most successful scheme of this government. There cannot be any denial of the fact that it is the most successful scheme, and it has created 7.7 crore toilets, and in which 73 or 93% are being used. So most of them are being used. This is also good. This government in this scheme, it had included all the problems, all the issues which were faced by the previous government. It incorporated that, and then it find a way out how to improve kind of solve that problem. Next is government to launch global housing construction technology challenge. So this is launched by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, and this challenge is technically what the government is doing is government is giving a challenge that anybody should provide us with any innovative technology in which we can provide housing to the urban poor at a mass base, at a very low cost, and also with much or pro green or pro environment features. So this is what government is kind of looking for. So it has thrown up a challenge in anywhere in the world. If you have any technology which can do that, please bring it to us, and the team of this ministry will select the most, or they will select the most practical and most innovative technology, and then that technology would be used for the construction of the houses. Next is Global Innovation Index. India ranks 57th. So this Global Innovation Index, India has been ranked as 57th. Important fact for prelims: who releases it? It is released by Cornell University, INSEED, and WIPO. So India has moved significantly in last 2-3 years. We were 81st in 2015. Now we are 57th. So that has been a significant improvement, and the reason is India's increasing human capital, India's growth rate of GDP per worker, India's export of information or IT, and productivity growth and creative good exports. These are the areas where we have improved. Next is India emerges as world's 6th largest economy. So, World Bank has said that India is now the sixth largest economy. We have surpassed France, and many people thought that how we became sixth largest when India had already become the third largest economy in 2011. But they are missing the fact that in 2011 we became third largest economy by PPP method. So there are two kinds of method. One is nominal and one is PPP. When we talk of PPP, it is purchasing power parity, which means how much or how many goods you can buy from that money. So if suppose in India, in burger or McDonald's burger is 50 rupees, in US it's $2, which translates to like 140 rupees. It means that in India 50 rupees is equivalent to 140 rupees in USA. That is how we measure PPP. Let's move to the next issue, which is Jal Bachao with Video Banao Puraskar Pao contest. So this is a contest launched by Ministry of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Regeneration, and it aims to engage with the people of the country on the important issues of water conservation and water management. And how it will work is that people will upload the videos of they can shoot a video and they can upload it on the YouTube on techniques or on efforts on efforts of best practices in the field of water conservation. So anybody who is doing this practice, they can make a video and they can upload it in the YouTube, and then they can send that link to the My Government app, and government will select the best video. Next is EBRD, or India has formally it has announced as the 69th shareholder of EBRD. EBRD is European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. So EBRD is it was established in 1991, and see in 1991 the Cold War got ended. So before that there was East Bloc and there was West Bloc. East Bloc, as you know, it was backward because it was under the influence of communism, and still it is now. Even now, after like 27 years after this Iron Curtain got fell, still Eastern Europe is much less developed than the Western Europe. So this bank was established with the focus of developing the Eastern Europe, giving them funds and all. But later on, more and more countries became member of this bank, and though the name is European, it has members of 5 countries including Asia and Africa, and the role of EBRD is to give or support private investment in mostly developing countries and Eastern European countries. So it invests mainly in private enterprises together with commercial partners. So what will be the benefit for India? It will be beneficial because Indian private sector will get expertise, they will get funds, plus it will allow Indians to work for this bank. Let's move to the next topic, which is Ministry of Home Affairs seeks cabinet note for bill which allows death penalty for rape of minors. So Home Ministry has sent criminal law amendment bill. It has sent this bill to the Union Cabinet for approval, and according to this criminal law amendment bill, the court can award death penalty to those who are convicted for raping girls who are less than age of 12. Also, it can also provide death penalty for those who are involved in gang rape, and it also proposes to set up national registry for sexual offenders. Also, for rape with a girl under 16 years, minimum punishment has now been increased from 10 years to 20 years, which can be extendable to imprisonment for rest of the life. Let's move to the next issue, which is center plans stronger defenses for key data. So, the Home Ministry believes that now that everything is in digital mode, the sensitive data could be leaked, which could adversely affect the national security of India. So, it is strengthening the National Information Security Policy and Guidelines, which highlights the baseline information security policy concept and best practices which ministries and departments should implement to protect their classified information. So this is this policy tells the ministries how they should maintain their sensitive information in order that they should not be leaked. So Home Ministry has said now they will increase the safeguard, or they will tighten the rules of this policy. Let's move to the last topic of the day, which is North Indians still showing favor for girls, or for boys. It would have been really good if they would have shown it for the girls, but yes. So according to data of the Ministry of Child and Women, it has said that the maximum states, or the states where there is maximum uses of sex selection, so where the information has been provided to the parents, it has been in Haryana, Rajasthan and Punjab. So around 158 illegal communication of the gender has been given in Haryana, 112 in Rajasthan and 44 in Punjab. So this reflects that more and more people still want male child in the state. That is why they are asking information about the sex of the fetus. So this ends the prelims issues of the week, and we will be meeting next week. Thank you.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Civil State.